Hello, Wild Wisdom Warriors, and welcome to another episode of Russian Tea Room. And today I have my guest, Karen Macdonald, with GINIUS Biofeedback Technology, and she is a practitioner and instructor. So, Karen, it's been a long time. We've been talking about having a show, but I think today is a perfect day for us to talk about this. So, welcome so much. With a lot of pleasure, I introduce to you, Wild Wisdom Warriors, Karen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it's so awesome to be with you, Lily. I've always been a fan of yours, and, we've got some mutual friends. And, I was telling everyone, you got to go see the, Wild Women Warriors. I always use the word peacekeeping, but, as people know that. And, yeah, it's amazing. You're doing a lot of innovative stuff out there, bringing the shamanistic, bringing the women up to empowerment, bringing the original ways back, raising the vibration of people, and that's what it's all about. It's all about us doing the therapy and releasing a lot of the, high tech to the low tech. I'm a medicine woman with high tech equipment too, so I'm a root woman foraging and getting shaga or making cacao.
Right, and this is what we were going to talk about today, is that, and you're a KlanMother.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. And so I've been talking about bringing that ancestral wisdom, right, and connecting that and connecting it with modern shamanism, because I consider myself a modern shaman. And absolutely, that's something that is kind of, for some people, it shocks them a little bit, but I absolutely love science and technology, because it proves so much of our ancestral wisdom about the frequencies and the universe. And I am a big fan of universal law. And so that's why I call myself a Wild Wisdom Warriors, because this is the wisdom that comes through my ancestral line. And so, right, so for you too, you are my sister shaman. And so we are talking about the ancestral roots of this, but also what is going to be great today that you and me can talk about is the modern shamanism and how that works, and we can translate the ancestral wisdom into today's world so we can share this knowledge and this wisdom with humanity. And this is why we do these shows. This is why we talk about this. I've been talking about empowering human beings nonstop for the last couple of years, because this is the wisdom of our ancestors that we carry, and we need to bring that forward, because more than any time before, we need this wisdom today, because so much of humanity is struggling with their roots. They don't have the foundation to stand on. And we are here to share the wisdom and the knowledge and bring it in today's world, so then everyday individual can use this wisdom that we're going to be sharing today and apply it and have the foundation to stand on. Right. So let's talk about our ancestral roots and where it is that you is rooted with your knowledge and what you are bringing today, and how you translating that into your work that you do today. And so please tell us
how we do this. I think that's a really important thing. We're going to start with maybe a little bit, like you said, it's ancestral. And I think one of the basic things that people need to know, and I'm actually, when I introduce myself formally, I'm actually Czech and Skull, the Schwetmak area, arrived in that. So I don't use British Columbia or Canada. It's our mother's land. It was originally the Bear Clan, which goes back to Arcturian starseeds and all sorts of things, back to the land of the Rus, which is, as people think, Russian. Okay, and it is our mother's land. It always has been. And it's through our ancestral wisdom that is perpetuated down the lines. It's from mother to the eldest or oldest female. And that's called the empty DNA or mitochondrial DNA. So that wisdom is innate. So our data dump comes through that genetically. And
Right.
Our entire, mhm,
And
yeah.
that's what I mean. We are talking about that ancestral and knowledge that a lot of this wisdom has been passed on
Right,
through like grandmothers and all of that stuff. In my family,
right.
there is sort of we kept this this knowledge was passed on through verbal teaching
Absolutely.
and all of
It,
that
it's
stuff.
always oral. It's always oral.
Yes, and especially for females.
Hmm.
There's something that has to be that where you go and you study with elder women to where you soak this ancestral wisdom from early days, from
Hmm.
early age. And so
Right.
for me, this has been a huge sort of part of my life is that knowledge that I've soaked in and so now modernizing and what you talk about with today's science and all of that, you talk about DNA, and I talked a lot about the blood codes because
Oh,
that the blood is the energetic womb. And so I talk about that as in a modern language. So can you expand a little bit on that DNA?
sure. I'd love to. I'd like to also just recommend two things before going that. If people want to get more information, I did a lot on Project Ascension on YouTube, but there is something that talks about this very in depth, and it's called Anastasia, the Ringing Cedars of Russia. See, as we are in the Russian tea room. But the Ringing Cedars of Russia has Anastasia. It was about our mothers and sisters, but that ancestral wisdom about a group of people and women that actually thrived through all this times beyond colonization and wars, and they were virtually untouched. And these are the people that are amazing. And so every year for about 10 years, they've released a book. So it talks about, kin, sacred kin, who are we, making a sacred kin domain. So it's, they can look that up at Anastasia, The Ringing Cedars of Russia by Vladimir Miga. So the other one was Meredith Quinn. And so I was handed all the Dakota clan mothers because they've passed. A lot of people think these women are all clan mothers and tribe mothers, but they're actually not. In fact, most First Nations would be a tribe mother. Clans and stuff would be Second Nations. So if you had 13 original nations, then who are you and who are we? And, that's why I present myself. We're always with a bloodline that's RH positive, by the way, because it shows that we have Gaia or, monkey mothers, so to speak, but we had host mothers. And so we're positive for that antigen. And so that's the first thing we have to, learn is who are we? And it's all about the blood, the wisdom, and the DNA is carried through that. So on my mother's side, it's Karen, actually, Ann, Lutzik, Zacek, Buzikavich. And on my father's side would be Barons, Mackenzies, but Macdonald. Okay, so there's a matrilineal line and a patrilineal line. So it's very, very important to know what that is, because in your coat of arms, your DNA, your heralds, your shields, all that translate to genetics, and it's a genetic coding. And so people would never just date, they would actually court appropriately. And when the women started losing this law of the land, actually, is the actually highest law on this planet and other planets. So it's something that we need to come back to. And so when they're talking about the law of the land is the women. And if they choose to step back into their power and be empowered, it's not just being on the third dimension and being in your, third chakra or something, or having your crown land back. That's why we actually have entitlement. And so the women need to be connected not only to the land, but they've got to be able to know the water and what life is all about, the cosmic laws out there. So I don't use the word universal as a one, but there's multi-nations here. And it's about having and knowing the I call them ET, but extra special treaties and covenants that are kept between all of us verbally. And people are going to have to learn how to understand that. But, it's who are we, where are we going, why are we here, and so on and so forth. So that's a very, very important part of it. Blood, as you know, and trauma is passed down ancestrally. And that's where your, incredible stuff that you're doing with the acoustics and the sound therapy and the hypnotherapy is because we have a lot of people that have been traumatized or abused through these times. And it's a new time, so we need to be there and help them. So as the White Bear Clan or Spaha or whatever, Hatsas, it's different words.
Right.
Part of it's room care. It's room care, and I really want to focus on using biofeedback, high tech and low stuff, but really the womb trauma, which is the stargate for all of us. And the blood is in that womb. Yeah.
Right, and this is what I have attempted to start with, is with foundation. And we talked in my previous episode with Doris about the trauma that happens at birth.
Huge. Yeah, huge.
And so starting with that, but what you were just saying about for women and how important it is for us in this time to have the foundation. And you talk about ancestral roots and an individual, and each individual of us, we're so unique through those ancestral lines. Yes. And when you have the wisdom, that ancestral wisdom as your foundation, you will never perceive anybody else as either better or worse or different or that. When you have the foundation, your ancestral foundation, and you're rooted in that wisdom, what you will know is you will appreciate your roots. And you will understand how to grow and why you're doing what you're doing in this life. And this is what ultimately why I am doing hypnotherapy right now, because the main thing that I do with that is finding a foundation for each and every one of my clients. The first and foremost step is to have a foundation for each individual. And that's why this path, and I've been talking about, it's a warrior path, because there's so much distractions out there to keep us derooted and without foundation. Because without foundation, if we don't have the foundation, this is when we can be controlled, right? And if we want to be empowered, then we have to have this foundation, right?
It's essential. And whether we think of it in earthing, grounding, I like wombing, I like rewilding, it's being like noble, being savage, being connected to all the elements of this planet, And there are many different things. That's why I've been doing a lot of what you call GINIUS biofeedback by Ryan Williams and Dr. Ari Policano, because I can now use high-tech stuff to actually scan you. We are actually putting this into the public's hand, a public version of it that they can use for free, and to scan what's actually wrong with them, whether, it's too much, viruses, bacteria, stress. I like it for the mood part.
Well,
I want to know what kind of a mood I'm in.
Speaking of the mood, and that I am drinking linden tea. All right. Here it is. My sister actually picked this from her tree in Colorado. And so that also good. This is good for your lungs and stuff. And I'm here in Mexico, and we just had the storm come through. So the last week it was nonstop rain and all of that. So I started feeling this, heaviness in my lungs. So immediately, boom, I've got my tea, and it takes care of it. So, and what are you drinking, Karen, today?
Today I've got my mixture. This is like my yoni mixture today. I've got calendula in here. I've got some of I think we've got herbs and stuff too. If you can always get them local, it's even better. And I'm going a lot more to berries than I can. So, if you can get things like Saskatoon berries, and I'm around Saskatoon, so of course Saskatoon berries. Calendula, roses in here, damnia, anything that I'm going to be drinking, that's what we'll be talking about for womb care, what we call punin, people call regina as opposed to vagina, but yoni steams, batango and stuff like this. This is actually the way to go. It's not so much oily, but actually you get 70% more effect to steam it up into the root chakra, whether it's the vaginal or anal area. That's where the blood is, and that's what kickstarts your entire immune system. So we'll be talking more about vaginal or yoni pearls, putkin pearls, putting the herb actually in here. So I'll probably show you how to make one, but I think that's important. I change this up every day. And so really what I do is I make the mixture orally, and then it could be the enemas, the colonic thing, or the steam. And, you know, these herb, you know, like tea bags are actually put in or greased up even and inserted into the vagina for 1 to 2, 3 days, but over a course of 3 months for shamanic purposes, but for actually getting rid of the womb trauma, getting rid of ancestral viruses, bacteria, sexually transmitted disease, any kind of trauma. And that's what we see with a lot of the young girls now too. We've seen a lot of the stuff too with the pedophilia and stuff too. So that's carried ancestrally. So I use a lot of that with the essential oils because it's so important. It is carried ancestrally. And so there's a beautiful book too, Carol Truman made. It's called Feelings Buried Alive That Never Die. And so I do a lot of stuff here with the oils because that's the one thing, you know, probably as you're aware that the aroma or the smell, when you get the right frequency. So we do have one I make for womb care, sexual abuse, ritual abuse, targeting, stuff like that. Because it's in hertz, it's in frequencies, it's in sound. And you need at least 102 hertz to get into that very sacred place. And when most people are below 60 or cancer at 40 and they're dying, 102 is a long way to get up to where that was carried in us for years.
Right. And like my dad recently died at 102 years old.
Really?
And he was, you know, went through incredible, his life was so amazing. I mean, imagine 100 years worth of experience during all of the stuff that happened in Russia, basically from the bullshit taking over.
Right.
And on to this day. And he was involved in all of that and knows a lot about it, that now that he said that after his death, I can release some of that information. So that's coming.
Sweet.
What I want to come back to is that he has not gone to a doctor for as long as I know him. He never went. Everything that he did, he kept, and my mom kept him through the herbs and all of that stuff. And actually these was the ones that healed his trauma from being in KGB and being programmed. And it was bees that did it. But I'll talk about that some other time. What I want to come back is about us being the modern shamans, because what I also do, you talk about frequency, what I do in Wellpoint hypnosis method is we use the frequency or the music, and it's something that our ancestral did through drumming and all of that stuff, right? We know all that and we still respect that. But right now, what's happening for our modern listeners out there, we can do that and bring your brain into that frequency with just a matter of minutes. And so now what you're going to do is show me your modern toys that you use. So let's talk about that.
Okay, well, we'll spend a few minutes just on, you know, a little bit of the biofeedback, okay? Biofeedback is done on what we call scalar wave or scholar wave technology. Okay, most people, I've been doing this since before 2005, by the way. So my medical background started, besides interior decorating and all that fun stuff, that put me into actually nursing. So I became a registered nurse up here. And I was actually in neonatal, that's the old me. Now I got rid of those 2 stripes against me. Those 2 things are gone. But I was a neonatal nurse and the union rep, by the way, for the Saskatchewan union nurses up here. And after 15 years, I knew that was just not it. I couldn't handle it anymore. And an injury because it wasn't correct. So I became what you know as a herbologist and aromatherapist. I got into biofeedback with the SKIO, Dr. Bill Nelson, and that sort of thing in Victoria on Vancouver Island. And so lo and behold, 15 years later, I get a hold of Ryan Williams and Dr. Ariel Policano, and we have gone from all that heavy equipment, you know, just like cell phones, and we've got this now in a public version going onto phones. So this is a technology that through your voice, 5th chakra, but your communications, if something's happening into you, a signal, a virus, a bacteria, something it's foreign or alien, that shouldn't be in our system, we can now scan through what we call triangulation or triquartering. It's like a Trinity thing. It's all about the 3 harmonics. Okay, so once we get that, it's been around for a long time with Dr. Halden Clark, you know, the cure for all cancers and stuff. And it's been around with Royal Rife radionics and orgone technology and tachyon, and of course, Dr. Richard Bartlett when I did matrix energetics. So we can actually take, which I did, I just took your picture. I was listening to you, we get you to say A-E-I-O-U or something, or, you know, a little music or something. And we just actually get a voice scan and a print. And within seconds, that's all I have to do. Once they got the picture and the voice, and I don't even need that. That's what remote or subspace or distance healing is about. I call distance therapy. Within seconds, I actually have got lots of things. So like ultrasound and a nurse.
Yeah.
We can actually see this on TED Talks. You know, we used to get rid of gallstones. Well, what makes us think we can't get rid of kidney stones and viruses and bacteria and cancer tumors? Because we can. And we've been doing it, and you can see it on TED Talks with Dr. Anthony Holland. So this is what Greg Braden was talking about, and David Wolf and Marcus Rothkratz. It's sound. You know, the beginning was the word, it was sound, vibration, frequency. And through whether I'm using a drum, which I'd like to get into, you know, people encouraging them to do vegan drums, okay, non-animalized, okay, there's a different vibration. When I use water, I use spring water only. That's all I drink. Even my teas are just out of spring water because it has the vibration of the mother. It has the extra minerals or the monatomic. It makes us ennobled. Okay. And so within seconds, just here, I'm just looking at you. So there's maybe some stress, but it's going to maybe tell me what herb you need for the next teacup. So all I have to do for you, or you do yourself, is hit that. And it's going to give me Lily's favorite tea. So it's going to tell me what is the right herb. And again, herbs and stuff connect in frequency, vibration, even what they're called, into the area of the planet. And so let's say up in the Saskatoon by the University of Saskatchewan area here, this is more like the Crown Land. This is a gateway area. That's why we have the medicine wheel of Wanaskawan here that I sit over. Okay. So right now, any surprise for you? I told you I was Bear Clan, the Siberian ginseng.
All right.
Okay. It's our ancestors. A little sal pimento, a little, and again, I told you, Bear, it's everything. It's Siberian and it's bearberry and angelica, like white angelica you'll see in Gary Young's like Young Living and stuff, cascara, turmeric. So right now I can tell cinnamon, alfalfa, what maitake mushrooms, what might be the best thing to start drinking that we could release in there, because there might be something in there. So as our mothers migrated, or I'm on a soul journey, but as the people know migrated, or, you know, they did a tour or whatever, a lot of them came over to these areas here, you know. And you had mentioned too with your, you know, father in the background in the KGB, my Gita and stuff, Peter J. Buzikavich and stuff on that side, and Theodore Lusik, which is what Kreider's. I got a little town, you know, my ancestors like kind of co-founded next to the Muskeg Reserve by the Crees here, the Heelwalks. But what happened is that they were part of the army too, and they came here because of the wars there, you know, and they were in the Austrian armies and stuff. So they were also military and army, both of them. So I have a lot of that we can share it too. So yeah, whether we want to look at your spine, or I always like to go, wow, just pick a subject. You know, do you want to look at your minerals today? Do we want to look at what stress or what mood you're in or not in? Or should be in, I don't know. Always dormant infections. So a lot of people too. I mean, we just might want to know it. But on the fun scale, let's talk about the biofield for just 1 sec, and then we can move on to the fun stuff. But Sulfidal town. Yeah, so let's do, again, your day of atonement. What tone do we need? So we're going to actually transmute, or as people think, convert. We're going to take this plant and make a sound out of it. So Siberian ginseng has a sound or a vibration.
Right. Everything
give it to you.
Vibrational signature, right? And so that's what creates is vibrational.
Yeah. So most people have heard of sulfidal tones, and if not, they can go to YouTube, and you know, that's what drumming is. You know, at one point we used to all be at 7.83 on this planet, and now we're like 700, 800, 900. So I have a little like musical box down here That's my medicine pouch now. It's the medicine chest. I don't have a pharmacy thing. I have a medicine thing. But Noj is another one that a lot of people have never heard of. Noj is another form of sound. And you actually, and I'll send you anyone that wants a little manuscript of this or a little booklet about it. Or I've got a free link I can actually send people to the public. But let's say you had Noj number A or whatever sound, and a lot of them might go into the ectoderm or into the mesoderm or different parts. So it might hit the right frequency because sometimes viruses, bacteria, you know, are trapped within the system. So that sound will actually go a little bit finer than a solfeggio tone. There's always the tone. I like this, doing tones for meridians. So I could be a traditional Chinese shaman. Not at all. I don't know if I say traditional Chinese medicine. It's really shamanic. But anyway, there could be some soul protection required. You know, some people are having different things they need to go through. So we're just going to clear some of that off. So this is another form of clan cleansing or doing soul protection or doing readings. But of course, everyone wants to know what their color is. You know, it's like, color me beautiful, just like Lily. We're going to color Lily beautiful today. So, oh, it's true. It's true. And so, yeah, it only takes a few seconds. And I've just got the volume turned down. But if I turn it just up just a little bit, there's tones you're hearing. And you can use headphones and do solfeggio tones and put them in what's called hemisync or holosync. Now, we've got some nice fuchsia up there, don't we? But I want to see that whole thing looking fuchsia. So wherever there's some dense energy, and there's a little bit of gray off to the side, we're going to actually send you some medicines. I'm sending some remote medicines to you by tone. Awesome. And we're going to do some clearing and those other fields there. And so that's actually what we're looking at. You know, when you start looking at that kind of stuff, that's what's going on. So we're going to open that up.
Let's talk a little bit about, because a lot of people have fears about stuff like that. And,
how so? What do you mean?
Like some people fear technology, right?
Okay.
And that's true, you know, from knowing what I know and from what you know, this technology can be used against humanity, you know. But what I always say, once you empower yourself and you anchor yourself in this wisdom to where you become fearless and you're the creator being, then the fear just dissipates and there is no fear. You can go into a fire of the enemy as though they fearless, because this is why I keep talking about being empowered and use whatever tools necessary to ground yourself in that wisdom and power of a creator being, that you are in charge of your life, your body. Your body is the vehicle of your spirit, as I say. This is your most precious vehicle. And knowing hermetic principles and how the law works, there is no fear in applying any and all tools that you can consciously apply to harmonize your body with your highest potential as a spirit, as a creator being in human form. So that's why I don't have fear about, you know, using any of this stuff, because I know who I am. And that brings back to people that are not sure who they are, and they had all these different teachings, or this is different spiritual techniques.
Right.
What we are here to tell you, it's empowering when you have intent to be empowered as a human being, that you stand strong in, you have the foundation of who you are. You are a frequency. You are that ancestors that we talk about. You embody all of that wisdom within you. It is there. What happens is all this trauma that's been inflicted on us that makes us, and what you just measured, things that, you know, that can show you that here is you're a little bit out of balance, or there, or what I do, that's exactly the same thing. It works for each individual differently. So this is what I love about that, because it's empowering to each individual, that find something out that goes through this process, or they go and measure. And so what you tell me is, you know, just recently, okay, this is the tea that will help your, because it just harmonizes your body with your intent to be healthy and in harmony and be a powerful and incredibly powerful human being.
You know, one of the things too, and you know, people can use anything, you know, in there. There are some machines too. I mean, we're quite well aware of, you know, strange things in the skies and weird vibrations. And, you know, we could have it as a, you know, why does it have to be a direct energy weapon against someone? Why can't it be direct energy wellness? And this is really is tapping in and doing reverse signals, or what we call reverse engineering or transmutation, right? And it was our stuff to start with. Those ley lines and frequencies and everything else were a heal. I don't even use the word healing, but a therapeutic.
Right.
And this was a wellness spa. So this kind of, as we know, music can affect us. It can, you know, go to the core of our emotions. I mean, I think we can all think of a song as, you know, what they think, but a tone or a lyric or a time or something. Where was one of the, you know, best times you were? Where was one of the most traumatic? Where did we feel a breakup? There's always usually a music, or you hear something on the radio or something. So it affects us. And this is the same application. And, you know, it has some amazing stuff, you know, so, but, you know, if you want to do the medical part, you know, look at the magnesium or look at what you're not absorbing. We call biofilm, or I call biosludge, whatever. It's like, you know, lead paint. You've had too many, you know, things we should have. Or a lot of people are not aware that, you know, they think they're eating healthy. You know, they think they've got an organic lemon that starts with the number 9 on it. But in, you know, they're not. They're going to the other side of the grocery store where it says number 4, 3, or whatever, that's got all this extra chemicals in it and filler. And so it ends up creating a coater called biofilm. And so I call it rewilding, just like you were talking about wild women. It's about going back to the womb. It's about going back to our original moms. And my mom did not live on, you go back 45,000 years ago, they weren't on reverse osmosis. They weren't on all this stuff. They were living very naturally. Even when my babas came here, they were actually in hatched, like a thatch, you know, things, but they were in like what you call a pit home. They were, you know, it's not a bunker, but they were earth, you know, and they had the outdoor kitchens and they lived very simply, you know, and we need to go back to that. There's something about being in the area that you're into is just taking those medicines because they're going to help give you the frequencies. So I like to use more stuff now because of the radiation, and we see a lot of, you know, geoforming and air pollution and stuff, which is coating the ground and the water. So a lot of the gardens, I've gone into stuff like fruits. I'm really more into fruitarian and tree stuff. Like you'll see me talk about chaga mushrooms and saskatoon berries or lemon, anything off of a tree. It's got a little bit more kick for vibration. Plus, it's vibrating up here. It takes all the mother's energy, the water and the light, and it through time gathers all that. Yeah. So the most amount of stuff is actually in the fruit, not in so much in the herbs. Or when we do herbs, I'm big more into the wild stuff. That's where you get the stuff. It's in the medicinal part of the weeds, actually.
Right. The other thing is the roots. There is a lot of roots, that actual roots of the plants that are very good for clearing stuff. And I think that right now, these days, we have a lot of nanoparticles. So yeah, maybe you can actually talk about what's good for that.
Okay, we've got something we call, which I'll just showed up in here too. It's what we call infectious. So we can actually test for what kind it is, whether it's Lyme, Morgellons, viruses, bacteria, nanotechnology, or very small microscopic viruses, bacteria that get embedded over time or ancestrally into us, and which is all transmittable. This biofilm can be broken up. So one by sound, which is what I'm going to do today. Okay, it's kind of like an opera singer. You know how she hits that high note, explodes everything, because you're matching the resonancy of that particular thing. So now that I've tuned in or got your key, like a piano, the musical key, I hear where you're playing at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, and like every organ is an instrument in the orchestra. I'm just going to tune you or pitch it in, because we know what a normal thing is. So that's all I have to do. It's a no-brainer. It says quick balance. It's going to take the highs and the lows and send it to you in a musical orchestra. to hit the right tones and pitches for you, custom designed for you. So that's how simple medicine is. Now, going back to, can I have the sound of it? That's great, because I could also take a little wire here and put a power plate and infuse this tea with all that medicine into here too. Or with you and I having tea while this is playing, the frequency is going into our teas and the water, because we're basically 70–80% water.
Right.
Memory.
And this is like what our ancestors do with teas and stuff, is your intent as well. And what you do is like the experiment with water. You can talk to it, right? And you put your intent, and then vibration of the water will change, right? This is the same thing, except it's in a modern way. What you're doing is infusing vibration of the water with what you need. And this is what modern shamans do these days, right, Karen?
That's right. Dr. Emoto was actually, there was someone called Chandini Leray that was actually behind Dr. Emoto. Most people don't know that, but Dr. Emoto was one of the ones that talked about hidden messages in water. And just by the sound or the vibration, we could say, put a vibrations. Every time I would add a sound or a tone or something into there, you can either talk about a loving vibration or disaster. And so this is probably one of my favorite books I actually talk about here, which is Water and Salt. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but to me, this is the essence of life. If you don't know where you come from, this is one of the most spiritual, cosmic books I've ever had, next to Anastasia. So when people are eating water and stuff, you know, that's why I get them all on Soleil, like having salt water. And having, you know, we got to talk about what we can do in these times, having the right water. So I'm really about findaspring.com. In fact, I'll be meeting again with David Avocado Wolf in Edmonton coming up here shortly, because he's going on a 5-city tour. So I've joined him before on that. And so it's really important. We're going to talk about, you know, maybe I'm going to look at some carbon C60, but this is a mineral most people are missing. They literally bred it out of the organics. So if I have stuff, I go wild food foraging, but most people don't realize they've got to get a number like 9 sticker, right? They don't even know how to read a label. That's an organic.
Right.
But most of the foods out there have been bred out. And one is always to get some Himalayan salt water or Celtic salt water back. And this is another one that's called Salmac. Most people have never heard of it. They keep it in Europe a lot, but it's a volcanic kind of a crystal, and it's a salt lick, and you just put a little bit in it. And it's also called Nushador out of India. This is a sacred mineral that's been kept there. And so Nushador, we do that. It repairs the DNA that's been fractured through vaccines, or like you said, we've been going through these high tension sounds and towers and all sorts of things that actually break apart our DNA. So it breaks them from 3 strands into 2 strands. I think that's why most people are kind of bipolar. They're just like, I don't know. But if you've got 3 strands, your mind becomes fused, you're at peace. And again, it fuses everything, male, female, inter, you know what I mean?
Yes,
so
you're rooted in that that organic living field.
Right.
And that's what I always talk about, that it's not binary. And so I know there's a lot of, it's a binary field. And that's what, that's been my whole thing. It's just, it's so much easier today with women like you to bring this information forward for modern day world. To understand what this does. And like in the past, in our ancestors, in older days, they did this naturally. And this is what shamans did, is that they didn't run from something that was negative. And this is what you were talking about. When we are broken up one against another, we're broken up within our own selves.
Right.
And this is when what we do with this healing is we're attempting to unify and make our field that living trinary field, right?
Just that sound that we
so tell me about all the details. What is happening there?
well, that's what's happening with you, or let us do it. This is not a you, me thing. This is let us do it. This is a we time instead of the me time. Well, I'm on MeWe now too, but anyway, on Facebook. You can see the colors that were here before. They were really kind of dark and gray, and it's just lightened up, and you're bringing in, we've done a lot of assistance for you. You can see the rooting starting to happen and the grounding, okay? Starting to look like that beautiful thing. When I'm going to start seeing it really get vibrant, it's going to look really like mauvish and pinky too. So we're going to go up a little higher than those major 7, but you can see that the fuchsia and the pink starting to come in. Just incredible. Just by doing 3 minutes, and you don't have to do this long. And this is why I love doing it. Now, this is the high-tech stuff. And so, I'm going to improve on that. And this is like us. This is like, I don't want to say the Akashic records, but this is like reading you at a cellular level, okay? Your cellular level always has got a memory of everything. And, we know that. It's been done in harvesting. It's been done in cloning. It perpetuates. So on something like this, we can read that, but we can also change it, what's called epigenetics. So it doesn't matter what you think you've got, clan, tribe, family, we can go back to the perfect you.
Right, and that's the key, Karen, this is why I'm still here pushing through any kind of shadow banning on YouTube or anything. I said, this is so valuable for humanity that we need to focus on, is that we can do this together by reclaiming this ancestral knowledge. And all it takes these days is 3 minutes, like you just showed. It can happen in just a matter of a few minutes.
As a medical practitioner, though, if I want to play the thing, I'll just show you. I've got extra libraries. Okay, this is what people can get downloaded. But it actually tells me which brainwave, what to do, hearing stuff going on that's been affected, or some people have got, what the tower's electrical magnetic frequency. They could also have some, implants, like it's almost like the receivers, or if you've got too much mercury, sometimes you pick up like radio stations, right? It's like you got many receivers in there. They're all wired down to the colon. It doesn't matter what it is, and pH. So I'm about getting the pH. And the pH is the most important thing, because whether you're using baking soda, whether you're using pH happy caps, I have better here, because I can actually flip someone's pH literally in there. Getting aloe vera, getting alfalfa, moringa, whatever it might be. It tells me what you actually need, not what I think you need, not what you actually are asking for. It's just basically reading the subconscious. It's another form, which is great to do for hypnotherapy, because you can use the sound and use this as a form of entrainment. And this is
like with the hypnosis that I do right now. What happens is that it is, even though I'm a practitioner, what happens is the client themselves prescribes the exact thing what they need to do, and they tell their own subconscious and conscious mind what it is that individual need to do. And this is why I'm so, and being through and knowing how socialist agenda works, and being so, I know every in and out of it, and seeing that progress into medical community, into spiritual communities, where it's projected that collectivism, and even with the healing. I wanted to, and what you talk about is that it's so tailored to each individual, because we are incredibly powerful beings, and we are in charge of our own reality. And if I, use this or hypnosis to align my own mind and my own subconscious mind, and make that knowledge and wisdom conscious, because that's ultimately what this technology does, right? It makes your subconscious reading, like you said, reading your subconscious conscious to me.
Yeah, it's not that different from, let's say with a lot of people, okay, there's maybe I had a condition, let's say, for example, on my neck, okay? It showed up like a little bit of a rash or something. But this is reading underneath, like an ultrasound, but it bounces it back, Okay, so it does it in many, many forms. And I mean, we are just actually taking those energies of chakra waves and showing where they are, where they're out of alignment all around you. So we actually look at you, and it will be improved because I want it into a trinary form. You know, I recently wounded my knee. Okay, I've broken my ankle before, 7 years ago. But this time it was the knee, the right knee. And I did not use the medical system because I know what happens when you go through the gates of the Royal University Hospital for the royals that are loosh harvesting there, right? I wasn't going to go. So I elected to, again, do it again and use all my aromatherapy. So I got some beautiful stuff with Navescence, and I got all my essential oils, and I put the plant medicine on my knee. I first put a hot towel on, and then after I started thinking about ice. But in 4 or 5 months, I put the knee back together, just like I did in the womb. And this is about us going back into our mother's wombs, as I was trying to say. It's about the salt water. So that's why colon hydrotherapy, I didn't eat anything or drink. I fasted totally for like a week. Okay. And all I did was even light teas, you know, and different things. But my pH, I joke not, went from nice and purple to my chakra at the knee went black. It was so black. I was like, I've never seen a really, really bad black one, but it was that bad. There's no energy coming. And I had to alkalize for like 3-4 months solid, taking all my pH happy caps and my baking soda and everything else. But the simplest things I found, do you know what actually helped that knee? Cabbage. So you'd think I was doing halupshi. My Veronica and everything else and raw borscht, but I literally did. I did. I graded. I experimented with everything in like, you know, those 2 months because I didn't get off the couch back here. I couldn't. And I was totally mangled. There was 3 fractures in there that were so bad. By the time I went to actually get an x-ray a month later, they couldn't see it from the front because I had repaired all that damage internally. It was only from the back they could pick it up. But I mean, even though my leg was, you know, from the thigh back, but I graded cabbage. I did dirt, like mud, my mud masks. I did poultices. And don't laugh, but the cabbage and the grated potatoes didn't go into pataha.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like, you know, talking with you, like talking with my grandmothers and stuff back in the day. Because that's exactly what they used the whole time. Like you were talking about your family living so close to the ground, and that's like so close to the earth. They were infused. They were fused with it. Their mind, body, and soul was fused with it. They were so in harmony with it. And so, and this is where, you know, I think that the fact that we have to reclaim that power of that. We do have that knowledge within us. We just need to reclaim it, remember, and clear all this trauma that we have. And with all this beautiful stuff that's been created for humanity right now to help us to reclaim our own ancestral knowledge from within to where we are grounded in it, like you just said, and trust our subconscious, which is our higher self or our higher being or eternal being, to help our eternal being to stand grounded within ourselves. Because what happens is when we have something like you said, you didn't go to the hospital, you trusted your own knowledge.
No, I knew it. I knew it. I didn't have to go into that. I just absolutely knew it. I had faith. It's co-creation. It's, you know, not just tapping into my little pulsed energetic magnetical, like the field around me or whatever. That's the creator, and I can co-create. And that's about knowing how powerful. And you know what I did, as weird as it was, I used these little things because all of us, it's cheesecloth. You put your herbs tea in here or your tea bag or whatever, or your loose teas. You tie it up, and I put it in the vagina to strengthen it, to get the root chakra back. And I sat over those steams. I don't know if you've seen them yet, but they're called yoni, or usually yoni or vag steamers. That's where the tea goes. And if I don't know if some of your people have not seen it, but I went to the school of Steamy Chick with Kelly Garza. That's all I gotta say. But we actually have 3 schools of perihydrocare up here. And I also, as soon as I could get on the table, got colon hydrotherapy because I'm a colon hydrotherapist. So I did myself because I needed to get the old energy out. I needed to create this knee again like I did 50 some years ago, Gregorian or whatever. I'm a blue monkey on my last time thing. So, but this was the best thing. And this is also about the chemtrails and stuff and the geoengineering and the terraforming, because this clears actually all the different, I'll show you these. Have you seen these?
Yes, in your previous show on Facebook.
I suggest at Red Tent Wellness, you sit on this, you put your tea, hot tea in here, and you steam it up into the root chakra for men and women. And this is when, like I said, at Red Tent Wellness, but you can get one with just a little hot plate. And all my girls are getting like commode chairs or a stool, or they cut a little like hole in their dining room chair, or the old one outside. And they literally are just getting those hot plates here and getting the water into it. It does not have to be expensive. In fact, you could use it on your stove, and a lot of women just put it under a dining room chair. Right. When you open the herbs and our Russian and our wisdom, you start actually opening up the root chakra again. That's the fastest way to the blood, is to the cellular memory. Not only that, I'm clearing out everything around me. I look like I'm a steamy chi, like a tree on the hot springs. And nothing lives around that. So I just really wanted to encourage some people in there. You know, we can have all the high-tech stuff, but it's really about being grounded. And that's the best way to earth. I've never seen so many people save their lives as they have with hormones and stress and doing that. We don't need to go to the sweat lodges. This is the inner sweat. You got to have that sacred womb, you know, reconnection back.
Right.
And I can hit with the drum, you know.
Why I'm having this Russian tea room series is to bring on this rich wisdom that you sharing and other people out there sharing. And I'm so happy that this wisdom is returning. And this is the wisdom that it doesn't require too much. You can do that right now, today. You can just start today to care for yourself. Right. And I've talked a lot in the past about grounding, you know, and opening up to that earth and aligning yourself with that living biofield of earth. Right. Or, you know, that's the living field. And that field exists it doesn't exist in time. And what we know through today quantum mechanics, you know, that past and present, it's all exists simultaneously. And so that knowledge, and when you combine that with the ancestral wisdom like that, and this is the modern shamans come back. We are back, and this wisdom is coming back. And this is why I'm having talks like that. So this is why I had you on today. And Karen, we're gonna have to come back. I want to bring you back again. Thank you. So we can talk a little bit more about, you know, maybe more specific things, right? About how to take care of. Because today we talk overall about what you can do to just start and ground yourself in this ancestral wisdom, right? Right.
I think that's what we have to do, and I'm really looking forward to, you know, being part of this. You have no idea. When I read this series about Anastasia and the ringing cedars of Russia, this is so important. The ancestors were talking about, our mothers were talking about this thousands of years ago. We have pyramids, we have Stonehenges, we have everything underneath our feet. We still do. Yeah. And we're going to see some really amazing things coming up, because I've been doing a lot with, obviously, the commander-in-chief, but all the Micmac shamans ahead of them, who kept all the ancestral wisdom too, like Anastasia, is Patty L. Broussard on the East Coast in the Micmac area by Boston. And the amount of stuff I've been trained and gifted through their wisdoms, through all the tribes, and the Dakotas, they brought me all their stuff from their tribe mothers. I have all the wisdom of that, the Dakotas and the and drama councils. And that's what we're going to go back to and bring. So thank you so much for inviting me. It means so much. I'm going to have more tea with you anytime.
We're going to have more tea with you. Oh my God, you have no idea. It's so beautiful too. And I think this was a perfect timing. And I of course, I told you I would love to have Patty on at some point. And I'm so happy that we connected you know, a while back, and now we are bringing this wisdom out and sharing, and you have so much to share. And so I would be happy to have another episode with you as soon as you're ready. So thank you so much for being my guest today on Russian Tea Room, and keep up the great work. You're a beautiful, beautiful warrior. And until next time, and thank you, Wild Wisdom Warriors, for tuning in. Stay wild, everybody.
Yeah, we're wilding, we're going savage, we're going to the peace flag there, you see that?
Hey.
Got to see my new envoy, that's on the plates.
Thank you, Karen.
Ja, you get to that.